Welcome back. Or if this is your first time here, welcome to my channel. It's a little bit different than other chess channels you're used to. Here, I'm not teaching you how to play chess, I'm teaching me how to play chess. One way that I do that is by trying to solve puzzles, and today I'm going to do that on chess.com. I'm not feeling good at all today, maybe you can tell from my voice, but I think it's important to do something chess related each day. I recently got my highest ever puzzle rating on chess.com, 2439, and I'm going to try to get as many puzzles as I can in the next half hour. The opponent has just attacked my queen. As always, I'll use my checklist for puzzles. Over the past couple of years, it's gone through several iterations, and in the newest one, I check for material count first. It looks like my opponent and I are about even on material. I also check for how much danger I'm in. For example, am I in danger of being checkmated? I don't think I am here, but I am in danger of losing my queen. My opponent's king is not as safe as mine. It's out here in the open. And I also look for checks, captures, and threats. Here I do have a check with the queen, I have a check with the bishop, but I need to evaluate the checks. For example, if I check with the bishop, what are they going to do? They're probably going to take with the knight? No. If I check with the bishop, they're probably going to block with the pawn. For that matter, if I check with the queen, they can just block with the pawn, so it may not be that good. But I just realized I can check with the queen up here on b5 also, and if they block with the... Oh no, I can't, because the knight is also guarding that square. Well, let's rethink this just a little bit. What else can I do? I can capture that knight with this knight, and then I'll be threatening this undefended bishop. If they take back, then I can check over here, and if they block with the pawn, then I can win the bishop. But is that what they'll do? Will they take back with the bishop? And if so, then I'll have this fork. And if not, what do they play if they don't take back? Then they just lost a piece, right? But that seems like the primary problem that I need to deal with right now is that their knight is attacking my queen. So if I try to solve that by moving the queen, say over here, because their bishop's guarding these squares, their other knight's hitting here, this knight's hitting here, their pawn's guarding that square, their knight is also guarding over there, so I don't have many safe places I can move the queen, and the other way to get rid of that threat is to just capture the piece. Well, I think that looks better than any of the checks, but this puzzle's going to be rated around 24,500, so it's probably going to be more complicated than them taking back and me checking and winning the bishop. But what else do they have? Can they check me? They cannot check me after I take that knight. They can try to fork me down here, but I would take that with the bishop. And if they took this bishop, take back, and I would still be a piece ahead, I think. Okay, I'm going to take the knight on d4. Hopefully that's right. If it's not, we'll find out why on the analysis board. Okay, it is going to be as simple as that, right? Because now when I check, they either have to move the king, or block with the bishop, or block with the queen, or block with the pawn. And in any of those cases, I'm going to win this bishop and I'll be a piece ahead. So let's try that. Oh, they blocked with the queen. Okay, well then it looks like taking the bishop is the answer here. Okay, let's do it. For being rated 2361, that one wasn't as difficult as I expected. And it has a pass rate over 60%, so it might be rated a little high. And every time I solve one and get a little boost here, that's going to be my highest ever puzzle rating. I'm pretty happy about that. Next puzzle. Well, once again, my queen is under attack, but this time it's by an undefended piece that I can just capture. Now that seems really simple here. Not only would I capture it, but then I would be threatening the knight and threatening checkmate because my bishop's pointed there. But again, we have to ask, what is our opponent going to play after we take that bishop? I assume they're going to try to protect the knight. Sorry, I should say I assume they're going to try to stop checkmate, and they can stop checkmate and protect the knight at the same time. Actually, by moving either knight up there to f6 would protect this knight and stop checkmate. Let's do the material count. They have 4 minor pieces. I have 3 minor pieces, so I'm guessing they just took a knight here. So my opponent is up on material. This would just even us up. And then if they drop that knight back, then what do? Then do I threaten that knight by taking the e-pawn here? But then they would take back, but then I could hit with the bishop. If they took that, don't know what I would do then. This one's a little bit more complicated than the last one, but the first move seems really obvious. Are there any other first moves? Okay, there might be this first move, because that's also a check, and I should look at the checks first. I think that's my only check. No, these 2 knight moves are also checks, but I think both of those are bad. I think if I check with the knight, they'll just take that. If I check with the knight here, they'll take it. This check, they could move forward one. I'm not sure why they would, but they could move forward one, and then I take the bishop. But I assume that if I check on f7, they'll take it. Then that makes this a check, but they still just block the check here, and then I've lost a bishop too. I just realized I have another check in this position. I could take their e-pawn with my rook, but again, I think they would take that back one of two different ways. So I'm going to take the bishop with my queen because I can't think of anything else that makes sense as a first move here. And again, because I am threatening mate here with my queen and threatening the knight, that I expect them to move that knight back. And if they do that, then I'm going to take their e-pawn with my pawn and we'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't know what else to do. So hopefully that's right. Oh, that was completely unexpected. Why would they do that? Okay, I mean, there was a pawn there, and I guess my opponent is now threatening something, but they didn't make any move to defend this pawn. And now if I take that pawn, the king has to move over one, but then I can't check again. So maybe that's why they did that, because now I don't have what I had before. I'm still not sure why they didn't just move the knight back. All right, I do also now have this check because their queen isn't there anymore. But again, if I check here, I think the king might just move over. I don't think it'll move up because I have the check on f7, which at that point would be mate. So if I check with the knight on c7, they'll just move toward it, I think. And if I take on f7 first, they go there. So either way, I'm not sure what to do. Okay, well, I've spent too much time on it. I'm going to play knight to c7 check, and if that's wrong, we will find out why. Okay. Yeah, I honestly expected it to be wrong, but I felt the same way about the other one. Well, the only reason I did that is because I get to go up the exchange here. But is there something else before I play that? So I think I have to take the rook. I just realized I could take this pawn over here, but then they moved the rook and it's protected by the knight. So I think I take the rook with the knight. Wait, that was it? All right. Well, I hesitated at every step along the way there. I hesitated taking the bishop on f3 because I thought there might be a trap or a trick. And then it took me a long time to decide between the knight check or the queen check. But once I did that, I don't know. I'm surprised it's rated 2608. Yes, it was difficult for me, but I think only because I kept looking for a trap of some kind and there wasn't one. Maybe it's rated so high and has such a low pass rate, only 35%, because everybody else did this. But I'm curious about the opponent's next move, so I'm going to look at the analysis board really quick. At the end of this, aren't they going to come down here? Because that's what I would have expected an opponent at my level to do. It says no. Stockfish would play either h5 here or bishop to e7, and I'm just up the exchange, that's it. See, I thought I might follow this up if they didn't check me down here. I thought I might follow up by taking this pawn, because then my knight can get out. But it says that I wouldn't. So if my opponent played h5, I could take here, or I could play queen to g3, and they would take. And of course, I would take back. But then how do I get my knight out? Because as I said, that wasn't a free rook, and my opponent is up some pawns now. I'm missing all those pawns in front of my king. So I'm only up 3 points of material, and if I can't get my knight out because I trade off my queen here, like it suggests, then my knight's stuck forever. So let's see, if I played that, they might not take my queen. They might just move the bishop here, or they might get the queen out. See, now it's not suggesting taking the queen, but if they did, I'm still ahead +3. But the knight isn't a guarantee, right? That's my 3 points of material. It says now they might play f5. What am I going to do? Take here? That would be okay, but bishop to e6 would be better. That's here. All right, well, I'm glad I got it, but I have a feeling I could still lose this somehow. Because again, I'm only up 3 points of material. It's a knight that's about to die, especially if the king just goes after it. And my opponent has all these extra pawns over here. Okay, well, I spent enough time on that. Hopefully I've edited most of it out. Next puzzle. All right, we will do the material count. I have 2 rooks and a queen. My opponent only has 1 rook and a queen, but they have 3 minor pieces to my 2. So at some point, my opponent gave up a rook for a minor piece. So I'm up in exchange here. Both of us have some undeveloped pieces. Bishop and knight down here. Sorry, bishop and rook down here and rook and knight over there. So if I did that count right, I'm slightly up on material. I think my opponent has 2 more pawns than I do. So that actually, we might be dead even on material. Let's look at checks. The first check that I saw was this bishop check here, which looks pretty good. I mean, obviously they don't want to take it because then I would get their queen. So what would they do since they're not going to take? They would try to block with the pawn probably. Okay, so maybe it's not that good. Oh, but then I would just take the bishop. No, I wouldn't, because that's mate. Wait a minute. Okay, I should have asked myself how much danger am I in? If it was my opponent's turn right now, that's checkmate. So I think I have to check here. Now, if they just move the king over, then I come over here and that might be checkmate. No, they would block with the knight. Wait a minute. Wow. Okay, let's go back to this. If they take with the bishop, I get their queen. We've already established that, so I don't think they'll take with their bishop, so that's why I'm trying to guess what else will they do. If they block with the pawn, I think I take their bishop with my queen, because that prevents checkmate. And then obviously if they took my bishop, I would take their queen, but I think after they block with the pawn and I take their bishop, I think they'll take my queen, and then I'll take their bishop, and then I'll be up a piece. I think. But right now, obviously, again, if I make a move that's not check, I lose. Well, I mean, I could take the bishop now, but then I would lose my queen and still lose. So any move that's not a check or taking this, it's checkmate on the next turn. Pretty sure. So I think I have to check with the bishop. Nothing else makes sense to me. That's what I'm going to play. Oh, they did block with the pawn. Yeah, nothing else makes sense other than this, because again, if I take the pawn, they checkmate me down here. If I, try to check over here somehow, they just take my queen and they're still going to check me down here. So I'm going to take the bishop with the queen. And then take the queen. Okay, well that one felt a lot easier to me than the previous one. I think I have time for one more. This one also had a 64% pass rate. Oh, you can actually see it right above me here this time. All right. It's weird how sometimes the pass rate is visible right there, but then other times it's down a little bit, so it's hidden behind my camera box here. Also, yes, my voice is getting a little tired. Next puzzle. Okay, this one is different. I'm playing with the white pieces. I'm up on material, just a little bit, but a queen is so powerful. Also, all my pieces but one are hanging right now, aren't they? The rook's hanging, the knight's hanging, the pawn's hanging. Wow, okay. Well, this leads me to believe that my special knight down here on c3 might be the answer to this puzzle. It's the only piece that can't be taken immediately. The only checks I have are with this rook or with this knight. I think those are my only 4 checks in this position. Now, I'm not going to check with the rook here, and the reason is because they would just take my rook, and then my other knight is probably toast. But I'll take one long look at my highest ever puzzle rating. Just in case I miss this, I'm going to lose like 15 points or something, and it'll take me a while to work my way back up to that. Here we go. Oh, I lost 12 points. Okay. All right. Well, then was it the rook thing that I said at first? No, it wasn't that either. Okay. So I was going to fail this either way. Was it the pawn? Probably not. All right. What else is there? There's this check. Well, it wasn't that. There's this check, and it wasn't that. I didn't think it was. Is it this check? What? It was the first check that I discarded because they would just take. Because now I can do this and take the queen. Oh, wow. The theme was passed pawns. Okay, for once that might be accurate. Okay, I did not do this because of that. And then I felt like all my things were still hanging except for this knight. But I guess the reason is that they're going to take it, and then I get their queen? Wait, why didn't they take here? Was that their best move? Doesn't seem like it, but okay, I'm going to go to the analysis board. Yeah, I'm running out of time here. Pretty bad. Okay. Well, so it was dead drawn if they had just taken the knight that checked them, because I have just checked them. So they should have just taken the knight. But instead of taking the knight, they moved out of check, and I have a mating sequence. Okay, so it was their best move to take the rook. That's one thing I wanted to confirm. Their next best move was king to h7, in which case I just would have checked them and then won their queen with the rook, because they can't go here or here because of the knight, or here because of the rook. So that's why they have to take. Okay, I just realized, because if they go to either one of those 2 squares, I have follow-up checks that win the queen with the rook. That's why they have to take. And then this. But why didn't they take here? Yeah, that one threw me off when they went to e5. That's not one of their top 2 moves. But either way, I would have gotten the queen. This one just seemed really odd because it didn't take the knight or get closer to the pawn. But this one takes the knight and gets closer to the pawn. And then, of course, I take the queen, and they can't catch the pawn. Okay, I understand. Well, I did say a few puzzles ago that sometimes sacrificing the rook is the best plan, and here it was for sure. All right. Well, I think we went down to 2443, but we were at 2455. So that was a new high for me, and 2443 is pretty good for me. As always, I appreciate you spending your time here. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next time.